Okay, so picture this, a city that acts like one single living thing. I mean, everything connected, everything working together. It sounds pretty wild, right? Well, today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical new vision for how we could all be living, a vision that was just unveiled on the world stage. And honestly, it could completely change the game. You know, when we talk about cities of the future, our minds usually jump straight to flying cars and all those sci-fi gadgets. But what if the real revolution isn't about the shiny objects? What if it's about how the city itself actually works, how it feels to be there? That's the big question we're looking at. And believe me, we're about to see one company's incredibly ambitious answer to it. All right, so our journey begins at a place where the future is literally on display for everyone to see. Expo 2025 in Osaka, Japan. The whole theme of the event is designing future society for our lives, so you can imagine it's this huge global stage where everyone's showing off their big ideas for tomorrow. But there's one vision in particular that's really making people stop and take notice. And that vision is coming from the China Pavilion. It's one of the biggest ones there, and its theme is all about blending, 5,000 years of ecological wisdom with super modern green tech. But this isn't just some philosophical talk. Nope. Inside, a Chinese energy giant is laying out a very real, very concrete blueprint for the city of the future. So, the company we're talking about is the China Energy Engineering Corporation, or CEEC for short. And get this, they're not just handing out pamphlets with ideas. They've built this whole immersive experience to actually show you what their city of the future would look like, what it would feel like. It is a really bold, maybe even audacious plan. And at the very heart of their vision is this thing they call the 8-network integrated solution. Okay, so think about how our cities work right now. They're kind of like a patchwork, right? You've got the power grid over here, the water system over there, transportation doing its own thing, and none of them really talk to each other. Well, this is a plan to completely weave them all together into one single super smart network. So, what are these 8 networks? Well, you've got the ones you'd expect, like energy, transportation, and water. But then you also have things like an ecological network, a health network, even a cultural network. The real magic here, though, isn't just listing them out. It's the fact that they're all interconnected, all sharing data in real time. The goal is to create a city that actually responds to what its people need, moment by moment. And his quote here from CEC's chairman, Song Hae-lyong, really gets to the point. He says their goal is to build livable, resilient, and smart cities. So you see, it's not just technology for technology's sake. The whole idea is to make life better. But let's be real, turning a vision this big into reality, that's a huge, huge task. It's got incredible potential, but there are some serious challenges too. Okay, so a city with 8 integrated networks, it still sounds a little bit like something from a movie, doesn't it? But CEC says, nope, we have a plan to actually do this. Which leads to the big question, right? How? How on earth do you build something like this? What are the actual technologies that make it all possible? Well, their strategy basically breaks down into 3 steps. Step 1, they're developing some seriously cutting-edge clean energy tech. We're talking stuff like harnessing wind way up in the high altitudes. Step 2, and this is the really important part, they aren't just running simulations. They are building massive, real-world projects to prove that this stuff actually works. And finally, step 3, they take everything they learn from those projects and plug it into that bigger 8-network city model. And this, right here, is where it gets super interesting. Because this isn't just a bunch of ideas on a blueprint. CEC is already building the technologies that are going to be the backbone of this whole thing. So let's actually look at the proof. Let's dive into some of their most ambitious projects that are happening right now. Okay, let's start with a number, 300 megawatts. To give you some perspective, that's enough juice to power a small city. But the big story here isn't just the sheer amount of power. It's the totally revolutionary way they're storing it. What you're looking at is the world's first 300 megawatt compressed air energy storage project. And how it works is actually pretty brilliant. Basically, when you've got extra power from, say, solar or wind, you use it to pump a ton of air into these huge underground salt caverns. You're just compressing it down there. Then, when you need the power back, you just release the compressed air, it spins some turbines, and boom, you've got electricity. It's a surprisingly simple and effective way to store massive amounts of energy. And we're not talking about some small-scale test here. This thing is a world record-breaking facility. It set records for the highest power capacity, the largest storage scale, and the best conversion efficiency. This is exactly the kind of breakthrough tech that could be a total game changer for renewables.
But that project in Yeongchang is just the beginning. Up in Songyuan, they're building the world's biggest green hydrogen and ammonia project, stuff that could help clean up heavy industry. And then over in Jixi, they're actually tapping into high-altitude wind power, a technology that honestly sounded like pure science fiction until just recently. Each one of these projects is a critical piece of the puzzle, a major step toward making that 8-network city a real thing.
So here's the main takeaway, the thing to really remember. This 8-network city idea, it's not just a fantasy. When CEEC talks about a smart energy grid, they can point to the very real, record-breaking plant in Yangchang. When they mention green industrial fuels, they're talking about the massive project in Songwen. This isn't just a vision anymore, it's a roadmap, and they're already paving the roads. So what's the big picture here? What does this all mean? Well, back at Expo 2025, CEC is basically presenting this as China's answer to some of the world's biggest problems, like the energy crisis and climate change. They're not just saying, this is how we'll build cities in China. They're offering it up as a potential solution for everyone.
And that brings us to the final, huge question. Could this model actually be the new global blueprint for our cities? I mean, is this integrated, super efficient, sustainable model the future? Or does connecting everything so deeply create a whole new set of challenges that we haven't even thought of yet? That's the conversation, that's the debate that's going to define our future. And it's a question we're all going to have to answer together.